There are 5 things that the accessibility checker in PowerPoint will screw up that you need to be aware of. We'll start at the bottom of the list. Number 5 is duplicate slide titles. You might see this come up under tips in the accessibility checker. So let's open up the accessibility checker. It says investigate. Under here, under tips, I have duplicate slide titles on a few slides. So let's click on one of these to go to that slide. We have don't rely on color alone on 13 and 12 as well. So the duplicate is on 13. Honestly, this is one of the least problematic issues you'll run across. You'll notice it's in tips. I think it used to be a warning. The slide titles are actually used for navigation for those who can't see the slides. Now this tip won't go away even if you mark that title as decorative. It's something that I really wouldn't worry about. Number 4, text contrast. You would think this one is pretty self-explanatory, but let me run through a couple examples with you. In my warnings, I have hard to read text contrast over here. Let's go over a couple of examples. We'll go to slide 8 and the hard to read text contrast, it immediately selects this rectangle right here. But what about this? It doesn't pick up on that. And that's actually the bigger offender of the two. Let's change the font color in this one to even darker blue. And it's still not picking up anything on slide 8. When the accessibility checker is checking for color contrasts of texts, it is looking at the text color and the color of the text box fill. So if I were to fill this shape with a dark blue, then suddenly I have an issue on slide 8 with contrast. And even if I were to fill that text box with the slide background, and no, there's nothing on slide 8 there. So you really have to be aware of your text contrast throughout the document because the accessibility checker isn't always going to pick it up. And that's kind of a big deal. Now that we've talked about that, let's talk about number 3 on our list. It still has to do with contrasts, but it's the opposite problem. Whereas this one, the accessibility checker does not pick up on it. The next example, it picks up on color contrast issues. However, let me show you. You see all of these right here? They are all on slide 16. Let's go to slide 16. This is a slide that I use to analyze the theme colors and the contrasts between themselves. This is super easy to do. If you want to do it, go download Bright Slide. It's a plugin, an add-in for PowerPoint that is absolutely amazing and it's free. I'll put a link in the description. If any of you have actually used Bright Slide, let me know in the comments and tell me what your favorite tool in the Bright Slide add-in is. Mine is this one. Mine is this one right here because I'm an accessibility geek, but I would love to hear what your favorite is. Anyway, so we have all of these and they all fail contrast. Let's just zoom in on one to give it a quick peek, right? Obviously this orange on the blue, that's just a nightmare right there and has the contrast numbers in it if it's below 4.5. Anyway, well, what if I just mark it as decorative? I've marked all of them as decorative, but even if I mark them as decorative, it still comes up as a warning in the accessibility checker. Marking it as decorative doesn't make the error go away, and a client might see that and think something's wrong. Number 2, while we're on the whole marked as decorative thing. So here in my warnings, I have missing audio or video subtitles on slide 9. Let's go to slide 9. Whoops, let me zoom back to regular. Here we go. Zoom into this. I have this little puppy here, right? It's a cute little puppy. It's got a wubba. It's like my dog's favorite toy. This is just a little decorative video. It plays automatically when I come to the slide. It has absolutely no value when it comes to forwarding the story. It's solely decorative. So I'm going to mark it as decorative. Now, accessibility, here we go. Puppy video, slide 9 under warnings. What happens after I mark it as decorative? One would think that would go away. Let's see. I've marked it as decorative, but the accessibility checker still has it as a warning that I don't have any subtitles on my video. Now, this brings me to the number 1 mistake that the accessibility checker will do, and it is a weird one. We have this check reading order. I have 2 issues of checking the reading order in the slide. On slide 30, oops, let's zoom out. Slide 30 looks pretty simple, and slide 8 has a bunch of different stuff, right? Let's start with slide 30 since there are 3 things on this slide, and that's it. When we're talking about reading order, VoiceOver will read this from bottom to top. So according to this, it will read my subtitle first, then my content, and then my title. Okay, we see here that the title is read after the content. Once we move the title before the content placeholder and we go into accessibility, slide 30 goes away. So let's go, what's the other slide we have issues with? Slide 8. If we go to slide 8, we have a whole bunch of stuff here. What does this selection pane look like? And don't judge me. Oh, I did name most of them. That's good. It didn't used to be named descriptively. So what we have here, we have the subtitle being read first and the title second. Okay. And then 1, and then that first item, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it goes to the free forms and all the other little bits. So technically, it's going to read in the order that I want it to read in. However, the reason it is giving us the warning is, hold on, alt text, here we go. This one is marked as decorative. This one is not. Let's watch this. Slide 8, check reading order, mark as decorative, and suddenly we don't have that issue anymore. So far, the things you need to look for to solve reading order issues are where is the title in relation to the content? And are there elements that either don't have alt text or are they marked as decorative? And actually, let's see what happens if we put alt text instead. So mark as decorative is off, slide 8 is back. I have alt text on this icon, and in the selection pane, it is read last, and it's still an issue. Okay, there's one more way that this can go off that I know of. Slide 26. So we have subtitle and title, a text placeholder, the content placeholder, and another text placeholder. 26 shows up in the pane here. Maybe it's because the content placeholder isn't directly next to the title. Let's give that a whirl. Okay. If I put the content placeholder directly after the title to be read, I go to accessibility checker and it's not in reading order anymore. Slide 26 is gone. That's awesome. But let's test that theory a little further by putting the content placeholder after these 2 text placeholders. So first it was between, then it was before, and now we're putting it after, and it's also gone. So it only showed up because it was between these 2 text placeholders. Does that make any kind of sense? No, it does not. Here's a false positive. Sometimes the way you actually want it to be read and you have it set up correctly, but that's still going to show you a warning. So there you go. Those are 5 things that I found the accessibility checker reports on incorrectly at times. Just emphasizes my point. You can't rely on automated checkers alone because they will throw false positives and they will throw false negatives. And this is a beautiful example of that. So if your client comes back to you and says, there are problems, the accessibility checker says so, now you will have some ammunition to be able to explain why your file is properly set up and accessible. It's the accessibility checker that has issues. So I hope that helped you out. If it did, would love it if you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because I will be releasing more accessible and inclusive presentation design videos, as well as general accessibility and other things. I'll see you next time.